It's 10 to 11, and we're back on the charts for part 2. Looks like there would have been some buy trades recently. New Zealand dollar, US dollar on the left, that would be quite nice. You get a move from there, or so far you begin to move from there. Pound CAD in the middle, looks like that had a buy trade after this candle went into oversold territory. At the moment that would be going a bit against you, couple pips, a bit more if you include the spread. And on the right, the Euro Australian dollar, it looks like it was last period as well. It looks like you got one here though, and maybe you even got in on this one further back. No moves for us right now. We'll have to wait for the pound Canadian, the Euro Aussie to go back into the middle and then either return to oversold or push into overbought. The New Zealand dollar, US dollar, that's already in the channel. So we've just got to wait for it to either push into overbought territory and get above the moving average, or come back down into oversold territory. Hopefully it's a bit more of a rangy day than yesterday. Or if there is a trend, let's have some strong retracements in price. Get us out early. Let's check the economic calendar, see what events we got. Not too much from Asia. 1:50 AM in Japan. Current account and adjusted current account did miss their forecast and down on previous. 201 at the British Retail Consortium. We get retail sales then year on year. Negative 0.2 actual against negative 2.1 forecast. So better than the forecast. Still down a bit on the actual though. And the National Australian Bank Business Confidence. The survey of business confidence in Australia. The actual is in at 21. That is quite a lot above the forecast of 4. And even the previous was 13. So that's good for them. Businesses' confidence is improving. 9 AM we had German trade balance. 13.2 billion actual against 15.4% forecast. And the current account 19.6 billion actual against 22 billion forecast. So both those are missing their mark, but only by a small amount. Shouldn't see any impact and shouldn't be any cause for concern. Had the French trade balance as well, also on the Eurozone. This one's a negative as forecast. Slightly worse than expected though, at negative 6.777 billion. The forecast was negative 6.436. And that's what we've had so far. Do have a few numbers throughout the day. The Centre for European Economic Research. We get the German Economic Sentiment Indicator reading, as well as their economic situation reading. And on the Eurozone as a whole, we also get the Economic Sentiment Indicator, seen as a good indicator towards the strength of the economy. 2 o'clock CPI month on month from Mexico. Yeah, they've been doing okay. It's a bit higher than expected. 0.49 is the forecast, 0.62 is the previous. You wouldn't want that every month, obviously, because things get out of control quickly, but it's not as rampant as American countries further south. Mexico wouldn't mind getting a bit below that forecast, though. Various speeches throughout the afternoon. Not sure if any of these are going to have an impact. The ones yesterday didn't. We do have Christine Lagarde at 3 o'clock. Jerome Powell, chair of the Fed, he's on at 4 o'clock. A few other board members peppered in there. But in the middle of that, 3:30, Producers Price Index month on month. That'd be an interesting one to see. Are producers paying more? They're certainly forecast to be at 0.7%. You'd think they would want to start bringing down that number. 0.5% was the previous. We'll definitely be watching for that one. Other than that, not a lot. You got the short-term energy outlook report at 7 o'clock. And at the same time, the agricultural demand report. Those two won't really have an impact. And just to end the day, you got the 10-year note auction. I do think most of my listeners are competitive bidders, putting in for more than $5 million worth of bonds. See you there. For now, let's get back on the charts as we are about to close off the period in 30 seconds. Doesn't look as though any signals are going to come. We're looking at the Great British Pound Canadian dollar chart in the middle. And the last two periods, price has skyrocketed and it's swung the RSI all the way into the overbought territory. Currently around about 64.65 is the reading. 10 seconds. Let's measure out our risk. We're going to be getting into this one. Looking at about 39 pips there to the stop loss. So you can see how our risk is calculated on screen now. And we're going to be entering a sell trade on the pound Canadian. And it's worth noting as well, if you got in that buy trade here, that's where you would have closed out up there. That would have been a very nice trade for you. 35 pips in that one, thereabouts. Let's set our take profit here. A little bit low on the bottom, but that is fine. Hopefully it's not deja vu on the pound Canadian, where it just keeps on running. And there we go, on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar. You got in right at the bottom with a buy trade there. The RSI did go to 39.74, and then you would have closed out when the accelerator oscillator flipped above zero. It closed that candle there. You'd have made a nice 9 or 10 pips from that one. 12:30, so about an hour since we got into this trade on the pound CAD. It did surge for a period, and it looked like that trend was going to push, but it's come back down since, and we are hovering just around about profit. Hopefully we can push a bit more. No other signals on the other charts. If you were in on that Euro Australian dollar chart initially, it wouldn't have actually turned out too bad for you. It would have been a buy trade either here or here, and then you would have been closing out at the end of this period. So a little bit of money for you, possibly taken out by the spread, but certainly wouldn't have finished as bad as it looked and it was coming down here. If you'd gone in on this one, that would have been a loss because that's the same exit position. So there would have been 6 or 7 pips loss. But any of the other times that it came through, small win. 1:15, and we do get to close our trade down. The accelerator oscillator cross zero, closed there. So we take a win. Not a big win, but $12.30. Certainly quite nice in the end. It looked like it was going to go poorly right at the beginning. You saw this push here. Makes you nervous, but it returned almost immediately, ranged off for a bit, and then eventually we do get to take profit. Still waiting for any other signals. Has been pretty quiet compared to what we usually expect. We got 6 trades out of yesterday. So far, only 1 on the 2.5 hours we've been here. Meanwhile, on the economic calendar, we did have those numbers from the Center of Economic Research. In Germany, economic sentiment indicator came in at 31.7 against a forecast of 24.4. Bit of a beat there, but they missed on the economic situation, which was an actual 12.5 against 16.5. Then for the Eurozone as a whole, economic sentiment indicator 25.9 actual against 26.1 forecast. So a little bit under than the forecast, but not really by much. And the previous was 21, so it's a good improvement on that. Not the worst numbers, but they will want to see them keep growing. Well, you'd imagine that's what they want. Coming up to 2:15 now. Does look as though a signal might just about come on the Euro Australian dollar over here on the right. RSI, you can see nearly tilting past 61. There it does. It's been a strong run, so this looks like it could be a reversal. Let's measure out that risk. We're looking at about 40 pips there. That's what we're going to call it. And is it going to land? It is so close. It does stick it. So we are going to sell off the market over here with 0.48 lots, and then we can set that take profit right down at the bottom there. Worked out pretty well. And maybe it is that the Euro Australian dollar does continue on a run. Obviously not beyond the realm of possibility, but at the same time, most of these candles from the last 10-15 periods, they've been green, and as it gets up towards this level, could be seen as a resistance zone which it bounces off of. We've certainly seen worse trades, and we're happy to get into one after such a slow morning with entries. We do have the accelerator oscillator comfortably above the 0 level. Whatever happens, it is going to take a while to come back from those highs, but maybe it could get down all the way to that support level and get us some profit. Almost up on 2:45 now. Our position on the Euro Australian dollar, it's in a touch of profit. Mostly just been hovering around the entry price though. But now we can look towards the pound Canadian dollar. RSI beneath 40, price beneath the average. We're going to measure out our risk. It is going to be a buy trade. We'll call that 39 pips. And there we go. We get the signal, and so you can see our risk calculated on screen as we're going to buy that market in the hopes of a reversal. Spreads suck on the pound CAD, by the way. Let's punch in that take profit. It should appear towards the top. There it is, a little bit above it. But that's fine. What isn't fine is seeing price come down. We want it to bounce from this support level, do a U-turn or consolidate and do a U-turn, get that accelerator oscillator close above 0 and in some profit for us. 2 active trades now. Pound CAD last period taking a heavy drop once again. Not what we want to see moving against our trade, and so is the Euro Australian dollar as well. We're about $70 down between the two at the moment. Let's keep waiting for that reversal. Interesting candle here. The Great British Pound Canadian dollar, that took a return big time, and it's almost near our entry price now, only a few dollars down. Meanwhile, the Euro Aussie dollar, that one moved against us. Did go up to quite a high and looked like it was going to be trouble. At the moment though, it's come back down, so we're only about $35 down on the 2 trades. And check over on the left, the New Zealand dollar, US dollar. That's about to give us the buy signal. Can measure out the risk. Shame it's taken this retracement, makes us less confident in it. Although it's dropping now, we still calculate the risk. Okay, so here we go. Let's buy in at 0.68. And that's our take profit up there. Probably went a little bit higher than we should there, maybe by 2 pips. 19 might have been better. But either way, now we're waiting for the accelerator oscillator to hopefully flip across 0. I mean, we've seen it come back from this low. That was potentially the bottom there. Wouldn't mind seeing it bounce, bounce, bounce now. And the PPI numbers from just a couple minutes ago, actual 0.6%, forecast was 0.7. Compared to the forecast, you imagine they'll be happy, even though 0.6 is still a bit high. It's better than seeing them get slapped with a 1.2, 1.4, something really up there. The Mexican CPI earlier, that came in at 2 o'clock. It was 0.84 actual against 0.49 forecast. So I don't think they'll be so pleased with that. Quite a bit of a miss there. Not what you want on inflation at the moment. That's it for the numbers. We'll just see if any of these speeches make any impact at all. Fed Chair Powell at 4 o'clock could be the one, but we didn't see much movement yesterday from him. Let's watch the trades. Not too bad at the moment. As it turns 4 o'clock, we do see the accelerator oscillator on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar. That flips above zero. Could be closing out this trade for some good profits. Currently up $53. Not doing quite as well on the other charts, particularly the Euro Aussie dollar getting away from us a little last period. But at least we do have something optimistic looking in this New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Let's find out in 14 minutes if that profit holds up. And those profits do not hold up at all. In fact, price took such a battering over the last 15 minutes, just in that last period, that it pushed the accelerator oscillator back below zero, and so it finished a negative value. We see it now flip again to a positive value, so again we might be closing it in 15 minutes, but who knows, and whether it's going to be for a profit or not. I mean, right now it wouldn't be. We'd be losing a few dollars at least. Pretty disappointing. When we saw it up at this high, that was about $70 to the good, and it was only in the last 5 or 6 minutes of the candle that it took this huge drop off. Struggling for profits now, and it's the same on these other two charts as well. The accelerator oscillator on the pound CAD in the middle, it's close to tipping over, but we're still in a loss. If we have to close it down, if it drifts across when we're in this range, we're losing about $45. And then the only one we do want to come down is the Euro Australian dollar. That one's ranging more at the top, but for now we do hold on to the trades. With just under a minute to go before the close of the candle, it is going to come right down to the wire on both the New Zealand dollar, US dollar and the pound Canadian dollar to see if we take profit. Both of them right now looking okay. We weren't expecting to get the pound Canadian dollar closed quite so soon, but you can see it's had a big run in our favour this period. Been pretty lucky the last 15 minutes. It's reversed the fortunes of the previous candle, and here we are 5 seconds to go. It does look as though it's going to be some minor profits. Let's just wait for it. There it is, and we get those shut off. The New Zealand dollar, US dollar, that came in at $6.80 in the end, and the pound Canadian is $16.98. Some small profits there. Bit disappointed with the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, because that was right up at that high, as I said. Could have been looking more at around $60, $70, but at least we didn't take a loss. And I am happy with the pound Canadian dollar. That one really looked like it was going to get away. Then that last candle did us a favour there, and we are able to take profit from it. So for the day, we're $36.08 up on our closed trades, but currently this Euro Australian dollar trade is $75 down near enough. So we need that one to come back to the good, head red, so we don't have all of our gains obliterated just by a single trade. Here's hoping. Okay, we're looking at getting back into a buy trade on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar. The RSI has crashed below 40, currently around 36, 37. That's still our highest high there. That is going to be 24 pips, we'll call it. So you can see our risk calculated on screen now. We are getting back in with a buy trade and 0.59 lots. And we're happy we got the trade, because we have got to throw caution to the wind here as our Euro Australian dollar gets absolutely battered. $195 loss over there on the right. So hopefully this New Zealand dollar, US dollar can get back some of the damage we're going to feel from that. We got out of our last trade, the previous candle before this big drop. These are the kind of signals that we don't mind getting as long as we do see a reversal and not a sustained trend. It is just after 5:30. And we are pretty disappointed with these trades. We're just over $400 down between them. If we were trading these on the relatively simple strategy, not the reverse, well, we might actually be able to get a positive day. But if you ever wonder, you ever have a strategy that's so bad that you think, well, can I just do the opposite of what I did there and therefore make money? Because doing the opposite should lead you to the gains where the previous strategy led you to the losses. Definitely not the case with the relatively simple strategy. And these trades are going to be open a good while. There's no signs of them slowing down. The accelerator oscillator moving to new lows or highs respectively, depending on which trade we're looking at. So I think we're going to be in for the long haul, and I think these are going to get worse before they get better. We will wait it out. 7 o'clock, and we do get to manually close down the New Zealand dollar US dollar trade as the accelerator oscillator finally closed above zero. It is a loss of $107.97. Awful trade, but a really good example again of what you could expect if you were trading this as the relatively simple strategy, not the reverse one. Picture this as a sell trade and picture yourself getting $100 out of that. And we'll continue to wait for the euro Australian dollar. The accelerator oscillator still above zero there, $322 down. That one still to be closed. And now at 7:45, we do get to shut down at long last the euro Australian dollar trade. There it goes. Real bad one. Baddest one of the 2 days. Obviously, not using a stop loss is compounding the losses. But even if we were using a stop loss, it wouldn't really be a lot better. It certainly wouldn't be consistent profitability. If we were mirroring the 2% reward with a 2% risk, both these would have gone for $140. We would have saved $107 thereabouts, but it's still been $243 down for the day. We are going to trade one more session of this strategy. For now at least, let's check out our trades in the journal. Our journal, let's scroll down to today's trades. The bottom 5, 3 gains and 2 losses today. If we left it there, it would sound not too bad, right? But as we know, the 2 losses that we did take, they were catastrophic. Well, the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, that wasn't the worst, but the euro Australian dollar, what a run that was. We would have loved to see that on the relatively simple strategy. And it does kind of amaze me how many fantastic trends there's been just in 2 days on 3 charts. A really good trending environment if that's what you're after. Sadly, we are not. We're after the reversals. We're after that rangy environment, the bouncy range where we kind of get in and out, in at the top and a sell trade out at the bottom. That's what we want. But we were lucky to take profit on a couple of these trades as well, to be honest. This amount should be much lower, but we are $578.51 down. Here's a quick comparison of day 2 on the relatively simple strategy. It was these 5 trades on that day, so same amount of trades again, 5 on each day. On the relatively simple, it was 5 losses, more than $500 lost on that day. But we did think taking the exact opposite signals, well, maybe that would lead us to net positive $500. Alas, though, it was still minus 350 or so. And the strategy seems fated to fail regardless of which way you take the signal. But we are going to try it one more time with the reverse relatively simple strategy. And if we have another awful day like we've had, then we will flip it around and we will trade the reverse relatively simple strategy, and we'll see how that goes.